Hey everyone, I hope you're having a blessed day. All glory to the Most High God. So recently, content from a YouTube channel called Law and Crime Network started popping up on my home screen. Out of curiosity, I clicked on a video titled Lunch Lady Groomed and Sexually Assaulted High School Freshman. And in looking over the comments section, I found essentially what I expected. Assertions that the involved male student was lucky, and that female school staff didn't look anywhere near as good as the woman presented in the video's thumbnail when they were a student. Concerned parents asserting that this is a serious offense, and comments regarding the reality that female sexual offenders tend to get little more than a slap on the wrist when committing such crimes. After watching this video, I decided to check out the rest of the channel, and it turns out they cover many of these cases involving female sexual offenders. Watching another video regarding a trained psychologist having targeted a minor, I noticed that while the judge was explaining the list of her offenses, a smirk suddenly came across her face, but she then resorted to suddenly crying upon hearing the consequences she would be facing. Such videos brought one thought in particular to my mind. How many of these crimes are directly associated with the occult? For whatever reason, I thought to do a search for Chris Hansen videos, and sure enough, there was a video regarding one man who, while perhaps disingenuously, asserted that the reason he pursued this attempted encounter with a minor was because, according to him, Satan lured him there. Now, looking at the comments section, there were a number of comments that appear to downplay the reality of Satan's involvement in this world. This did not surprise me, and with the aspect of anonymity playing such a significant role in the realm of online platforms while permitting open communication, it comes as no surprise to me that while it may not be the case specifically when it comes to all these comments, there do exist parties who will resort to making false claims in attempts at persuading public opinion. You can observe this commonly in cases such as commenters who attempt to dissuade content creators from focusing on certain topics in their content with negative remarks, but also by positively reinforcing a channel's focus on particular topics. Artificially increasing a particular video's view count is one such method of accomplishing this. What this all ultimately reminded me of were two things. One, from Dr. Rebecca Brown's book, Prepare for War, a chapter titled Ritualistic Child Abuse, and two, an interview titled From Freemasonry to Freedom, A Life Transformed by God, John Moscato's Testimony. In Dr. Brown's book, she states that the term ritualistic child abuse refers to abuse occurring as part of a ritual, as in a satanic ritual. It is usually repeated more than once, but not always, depending upon the circumstances. The purpose of this type of abuse is always to place demons within the child. The demons then exercise a profound influence on the child's growth and development, frequently almost totally controlling them. This is the number one most avoided subject in any discussion of the problem of ritualistic child abuse. She goes on to state that children and even adults subjected to such rituals are always diagnosed by various psychotherapists, psychologists, and or psychiatrists as multiple personalities or schizophrenic. In actual fact, the multiple personalities are demons. Until this fact is recognized and dealt with through the power of Jesus Christ, little help is possible for the victims. Dr. Brown furthermore goes on to emphasize the significance of the sex act in this passing of demons in referencing 1 Corinthians 6, verses 16 and 18, which states, What, know ye not that he which is joined to an harlot is one body? For two, saith he, shall be one flesh. But he that is joined unto the Lord is one spirit. Flee fornication. Every sin that a man doeth is without the body, but he that committeth fornication sinneth against his own body. This is not the first time I've encountered such an explanation which, to my understanding, comes down to this becoming one flesh, whether through the act of intercourse and or even marriage, places the parties involved in a covenant which permits the transferring of demons. Adding more to the picture here, in John Moscato's testimony, linked below, he made the following key statement shedding light on why satanic ritual abuse is significant. In response to the interviewer's question of, when you talk about torture and verbal abuse and all these things you mentioned, why would they do that? To this, John replies, oh boy, this is a This goes deep. So, this is all by design because they are trying to attach demons to you. And one of the ways you can bring demons in is by having someone experience sustained, stressful, traumatic events. And especially if you can do that repeatedly, it's almost like it creates fissures in your spirit that allow other things to come in to take root in you. Dr. Brown mentions various methods of abuse, including acts such as sexual molestation. What stuck out to me as a potential reason for some of the crimes of these female teachers, notably an effective method, whether the victim enjoyed the treatment or not, due to the forming of a covenant to pass demons. Undoubtedly, as well, the common antagonism many people commonly face in the workplace, commonly referred to as workplace bullying, can fall under this category. Additionally, and paralleling Mr. Moscato's testimony, causing fear in the victim and physical pain amongst other means. Of course, any number of these methods could be compounded in order to obtain a desired result in victims. For instance, in the case of the aforementioned female psychologist, she was charged with trafficking in her targeting a minor with her academic expertise, providing them with drugs as well as alcohol, and all in attempts at ultimately luring them to a hotel room to be sexually assaulted by the other parties involved. One of the biggest questions surrounding these cases, that being why female perpetrators tend to get away with such behavior, facing little more than a slap on the wrist, I think Dr. Brown also sums up rather well. According to her, this ritualistic abuse is actually planned, and that these Satanists are heavily embedded in the processing governmental agencies. This including law enforcement, and even in the case of psychologists, she specifically states, you must realize that once you notify the authorities, you have essentially lost control of your child. I've been in touch with many, many parents who are caught in this terrible trap. The welfare department demands that they take their child for psychiatric evaluation and treatment. Almost always, the psychologists use such demonic techniques as hypnotism. If the parents refuse, then the welfare department steps in and takes the child out of the home, placing it in a foster home, which is frequently run by Satanists. Apparently, there have even been cases wherein the parents have been subsequently sued following the abuse. And considering the assertion that these individuals are embedded in the government, it comes as no surprise to me that they would also be embedded in schools as well. Now, let's talk a bit about the attractiveness of some of these female teachers. What comes to my mind is that, in some cases, surely in the same manner that, say, a woman may purposely pursue employment at a gym as she finds muscular men attractive, some female teachers may be pursuing these jobs at locations such as middle and high schools as they find boys in that age group attractive. In other cases, Satanism will surely play a role. However, in both cases, I'll say that demons are involved, ultimately harboring the potential for the passing of demons as, through the sin of fornication, the two become one flesh. Again, as Dr. Brown stated, the purpose of this type of abuse is always to place demons within the child. The demons then exercise a profound influence on the child's growth and development, frequently almost totally controlling them. And this control would likely result in Satan gaining some leverage and having the child pursue a path of sin from an early age. Not only this, but with some of these female teachers electing to keep any children brought about as a consequence of their criminal behavior, this furthermore burdens the male student with financial obligations before they could even gain a foothold in life. Perhaps God's plan for their life was to relocate for a specific cause, but because Satan got to them early, a bit of a barrier to this perhaps will be implemented. With the factors of these molding demons as well as financial bondage in place as well, the victim appears to be in a double bind, perhaps resulting in a significant delay in their coming to the realization of who they are in Christ. If you do a search here on YouTube for female teacher sexual assault on the rise, you'll find various videos of these female perpetrators, and to me, it comes as no surprise that many of these women are highly successful in sleeping with their male students. In some cases, the numbers reaching in the dozens. What also comes to mind is that it makes complete sense that Satan would select for women who are at least somewhat attractive, whether they're aware of it or not, in order to do his bidding here on Earth. Not only can this mitigate the chances that they will be properly charged, but it can furthermore significantly heighten their success rate in committing the crime. As prosecutor Matt Murphy stated in one interview regarding his experience in dealing with these kinds of women, I expect that I'm going to be back on your show again soon, talking about the next one that comes down the line. I mean, this is a really interesting thing. These women tend to be young, they tend to be married, in the cases that we see, and for whatever reason, they tend to be, quite attractive too. We live in quite the interesting world, and I find it worth noting here as well that not all of your thoughts are your own, but ultimately could come down to these demons testing the waters in attempts at seeing what you're receptive to in the hopes of pulling you into sin. As is stated in 2 Corinthians chapter 10, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty in God for pulling down strongholds, casting down arguments and every high thing that exalts itself against the knowledge of God, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ, and being ready to punish all disobedience when your obedience is fulfilled. Thank you all for listening, and I pray this video was a blessing to you. Catch you in the next one.